everyone, welcome to Carmen's Australian Storytime. I have driven from the top of Tasmania all the way to the bottom of Tasmania today, and we've seen some pretty cool things, and we've been on some pretty amazing roads. Thank you, Google Maps. Not. Anyway, we are now in a place called Kettering, where tomorrow we are going on a jet boat tour, and we're staying in the most beautiful, beautiful place, Oyster Bay Cove Cabins. And this is my view today, so I'm feeling pretty blessed. It's so pretty here, and it's very, very quiet. But I thought, what a great place to read a book. So I'm reading Puss in Boots, and it's a golden book. Love my golden books, GB. Let's see what this book is about. Let's see if it's the same story that you know, because there's lots of different versions. This says inside the cover, almost 300 years ago, Charles Perrault wrote down this old and well-loved French tale. With pictures by J.P. Miller, it is one in a series of little golden books designed to bring the full flavour of the best fairy tales to children of picture book age. So, this is a very, very old story with very, very old illustrations, but they're very cute. There was once a miller's youngest son whose father had left him nothing in all the world except a cat. They say save a cat, but they mean except a cat. How am I to live, cried the poor lad, with no more fortune than this? Puss and I are sure to starve. He thought he was going to get something, not just a cat. Now the cat, having heard the master's words, did not like the sound of them at all. Good Master Caraba, said he, only give me a pair of boots, a plumed hat, and an empty bag, and I will make you rich. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure a talking cat would make you rich. Caraba did as the cat asked, and Puss, gallantly dressed in his fine new clothes, scooped a measure of grain into his bag and hurried off to the woods. There he quickly caught a rash young rabbit who came to eat the grain. What was the grain he was going to eat? So I wonder what he's going to do. Puss went straight to the palace of the king. Since the king liked nothing better than rabbit pie, Puss was soon bowing before him. My noble master, the Marquis of Carabas, sends you this gift, said he, and with it the greetings of a loyal subject. Your master is most generous, Puss in Boots, the king replied. He didn't tell him that he caught it, trying to eat the grain. The next day, Puss trapped 2 plump partridges and gave them to the king. Partridges are like little birds. They kind of look a little bit like maybe a chicken. He gave them to the king. Day after day he brought some small game. Game is like hunted foods. To the king and presented them. The king grew curious, more and more curious about this noble marquis. He didn't tell him that they were very poor, did he? At last, one morning, he and his daughter, the most beautiful princess in all of the world, that's usually how the story works, drove out to learn all they could about him. Now, they didn't drive in a car back then. They went in a horse and carriage. No sooner did their coach turn toward the river than Puss was running home as if his life depended on it. Oh no, he's got to get home before they get there. I wonder what he's going to do because they've got nothing. Good Master Caraba, he cried, you must bathe in the river at once. So great was his excitement that the miller's lad did so without even asking why or wherefore. And the moment he was in the water, Puss gathered up his dirty, dusty, shabby clothes and hid them under a large rock. Then, as the king's coach passed out, he ran, waving his arms and crying, Help, help, my master is drowning. The king remembered Puss in Boots well. He had brought him gifts from the Prince Marquis every day. I think he's playing a bit of a trick. He sent his guards running to pull the astonished Caraba out of the water. With While all this was going on, Puss told the king that some knave. A knave is like someone who tries to steal things and he doesn't really do the right thing, had stolen all his master's fine clothing and run off with it. Bring the Marquis of Caraba the finest suit in the palace, the king said to his master of the wardrobe. So now he's getting a suit. This is a clever trick. This was soon done, and when the miller's lad had dressed in it, he was so handsome that the beautiful princess looked at him once and loved him with all her heart. Not sure that's quite how it happens, but anyway, as for Caraba, he sat at her side, wondering at her beauty and wishing this ride might never end. Puss by this time was running well ahead of the coach. All this land belongs to the Marquis of Caraba, he told the workers in the fields, and any who deny it will be chopped as fine as herbs for the pot. So each time the king leaned out to ask who owned the land, the frightened workers told him the Marquis of Caraba and no other. While the king marvelled at the richness of the land, Caraba marvelled at his daughter's beauty and sweetness. And Puss, well, he was pleased with himself, and he went running ahead to the castle of the wicked ogre, who really was the owner of all the fields. How is he going to deal with an ogre? He walked boldly through the great courtyard and the stately rooms, and at last he came upon the frightful ogre himself. He's rather large. Look how tiny that table is. I have heard, said Puss, looking far braver than he felt, that you can turn yourself into a lion, but I cannot believe that even you can do that. Can't you? The ogre bellowed. In the twinkling of an eye he had turned into a terrible roaring lion and back into an ogre again. Think he's going to play a sneaky little trick. What do you think? Do you predict that he will? Me too. Wonderful indeed, cried Puss. But I've also heard that, great as you are, you can turn yourself into a tiny mouse. Surely this is not possible. See for yourself, roared the furious ogre, and at once he was a small grey mouse scurrying across the floor. This suited Puss perfectly, 'cause cats chase mice, right? And they eat them. He pounced, and both mouse and ogre were gone forever. Puss ran to the gates barely in time to throw them open for the royal coach. Empty ogre mansion. Good plan, good plan. Welcome to the castle of my noble master, the Marquis of Carabas, he said. When the king saw the richness and beauty of the castle, he was sure that the Marquis of Carabas was a proper young man indeed, and after a magnificent feast that Puss had ordered prepared, he declared that no one but the noble Marquis was worthy of his daughter's hand. That means to get married. Both Caraba and the princess were overjoyed. Their wedding took place that very day. Yeah, I don't know if that's how it works either. Weddings take a lot of planning. But fairy tales can have the most amazing things happen, right? And no one rejoiced more than Puss, who lived with the Marquis and his beautiful bride for ever after. And there they are in the castle. That's what I love about fairy tales. There's always great happy endings. And they all start with once upon a time, and they all finish with, and they lived happily ever after, which is how we all want to live, right? Thank you for joining me on Carmen's Australian Storytime. Let's have a look at this view. Oh, let me get up. It's pretty nice. Goes all the way from the yachts over there and the mountains all the way over there. And tomorrow we're getting on the jet boat and going out there, which will be pretty awesome. Oh, can you see that rabbit in the fields over there? There's actually a big rabbit. We're not allowed rabbits in Queensland, so that is pretty amazing. Look how big his ears are. He's eating something. Wonder if he's going to hop away. I hope you can see that. He's listening. Always, they've got those big ears so that they can hear really well. Wow, well, I wasn't expecting for you to see that. That's pretty cool. Although down here, they're probably very used to seeing rabbits. In Queensland, not so much. Looks like he's busy eating something. I'm waiting to see if he'll jump away so we can see him hop. Lucky Puss isn't here for the Puss in Boots story, or he'd be going into the pie for the king. He's so cute. I don't think he's going to move, but that's a pretty cool thing to see out there. Thank you for joining me on Carmen's Australian Storytime, and I look forward to reading to you again somewhere new. Bye for now.